By that time, I had lost sense in both of my hands. It was the result of the accumulated torture, but mainly because both of my wrists were tied up so tight, and I was hanged up from the ceiling for 3 days.
He's just one victim of a widespread modern-day slavery, kidnapping, and torture trade in the Sinai Desert. You can find many pictures and videos of this horrible practice on the internet. We call this Christian man from the African country of Eritrea Philip, but that's not his real name. We covered his identity for his protection.
In some cases, we were tortured just because we were Christians.
Sinai was always a place for human smuggling, but since around 2 years ago, even a little bit more, it started to be also a place of human torture.
Shahar Shoham is with Physicians for Human Rights. They've documented more than 1,300 cases of torture in the Sinai. Those survivors, like Philip, made it to Israel. But most of the torture cases are not documented.
They torture them in horrible methods, like hanging upside down from the ceiling, like using electric shocks, like burning them on their bodies.
The story begins in Eritrea, where many like Philip fled from its brutal dictatorship. He traveled to a UN refugee camp in Sudan. There he was kidnapped by a Bedouin tribe. They transferred him, along with many others, through Sudan, Egypt, and all the way to the Sinai Desert and their torture camps. What happens next in these camps is diabolical.
What they do is make you call your family and ask them for the money. Usually they would do the asking. What they would do is they would say, you either send this money, or it could be your brother would die, or your father would die, or your son would die. It depends on whoever's picking up the phone. And while you're talking to your family, they would pour molten plastic on your body so that you would scream, and perhaps they would thought that might persuade our families to pay or collect the money faster.
The tribesmen demand what for most poor Eritrean families is a king's ransom.
The ransom fees right now can go up to $40,000 for an individual and even $50,000. And until the ransom fees will not be paid, the people will not be released.
The financial burden on the families is devastating. Sister Aziza is a Catholic nun from Eritrea and based in Jerusalem. She interviews many of the Sinai survivors.
People are destroyed psychologically, physically, because of also that, because they know what happened to their family and how they are living.
But many do not make it out alive. Many with Philip died. Yet the torture and the dying go on. We talked with a 35-year-old Eritrean woman named Sagan while she was still in captivity. She was 5 months pregnant. The kidnappers give them cell phones so they can call their family and friends to beg for money. Maron Estefanos, an Eritrean human rights activist living in Sweden, arranged our conversation. We talked via Skype, linking Sweden, Jerusalem, and the Sinai Desert. It was sobering. You could hear the strain in Sagan's voice.
They're asking for money every minute. They hit us. They would make them lie down in the floor, and then they would hit their feet and melt with melted plastic bags, and also so that way they cannot stand, because they would torture their feet, and at the same time, she said, every day they hang them like the way they used to hang Jesus Christ.
A majority of the Eritreans, like Sagan and Philip, are Christians. Many don't survive.
There are around 7,000 people that went through these torture camps and 4,000 that died. Those are huge numbers, and I don't think the world needs to keep quiet about that.
Philip miraculously survived and made it to Israel, where he received life-saving medical treatment. The location of these torture camps is no secret.
Their location and whereabouts is known already to many high officials.
But so far, the government of Egypt hasn't done anything about them.
The only way out of this problem is for the international society, for the international community, to put pressure on the Egyptian government to release these victims, to stop these human traffickers.
Majed El-Shafi, a human rights activist, believes some of the American financial aid to Egypt could be used with conditions to help these victims.
Every American listening to us right now, not only Americans, anybody in the world, you can make a difference. You can contact your congressman, you can contact your senator, you can show them that you care about these issues. If you send an emails or fax or you make a telephone call, you can save a life.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.